Hi, hello, and welcome back to Blades in the Dark, the all-rogues tabletop RPG where you need to kill your rivals twice, or else you get haunted. Yes, today is talking about the ghouls, gas, ghosts, namely just the ghost part of it, but the hauntings of the haunted city and the many other haunted cities of the Shattering Isles. Because after that good old cataclysm, as every fantasy is wont to have, the gates of death broke and there is no necessarily passing. There might be, depending upon which cult you listen to and what kind of belief, but spectrology-wise and just what you can see down the streets, there's ghosts. In the magic video, we discussed the general parts of spectrology, how that all kind of works with the ghost field and stuff. This time we're talking about the ghosts themselves. How the hauntings work, things they tie to, what kind of things does a whisper do? And not undead in general, and not devils in general. Devil being just slang for anything supernatural and bad, or just bad. Even some gang leaders are called devils. Vampires, holes, demons, and all that's kind of being pushed to the side, a bit more isolated and focused on, namely because you have other mechanics tied to them. But to the ghosts themselves, the ghost field, that brief bit of attunement. So, brief summary on that side of spectrology, everyone has a bit of attachment to it. The ghost field is not something just some specific people born can attune to or try and interact with. Everyone can. It is ever present. It's dampened and limited on the inside of the different lightning fields, but outside of that, out in the Deathlands, it's everywhere. Whispers are just the individuals trained in specifically interacting with it and interacting with the things that inhabit it. So where do these spooky things come from? Death is probably the answer you immediately came to, which, yeah. But not in that exact moment. Again, tied to the spectrology thing, a corpse is something separate from the initial part of the body, or the soul, which is unity between the body and the spirit. When someone dies within the city, the silent bells of the Bellwether Crematorium ring out, able to be heard by all the spirit wardens and anyone around the recently deceased. Naturally, it takes 1 to 3 days from a spirit to kind of become free of the corpse. After that, it might fall into a different type of spirit or specter. It's not just something that passively goes on in the background. It is an active event. It could have different bits of hauntings to an extent, various bits of weird sightings, mist, not to mention the crows from the Bellwether Crematorium beginning to circle. But with intervention, you can hasten that process of separation. A whisper intervening, some kind of bit of alchemy or other bits of sparkcraft, you can draw that soul and rip the spirit out. Done partly in illegal trading, or other cults intervening to an extent, or people wanting to try and not be burned, their spirit incinerated within the crematorium, or a particularly vengeful spirit that wants to really get to the vengeance part quickly. And when it comes to ghosts and hauntings, those are echoes, specters, horrors, possibly reconciled in spirit wells. Echoes are the first on this list, and those are the ones tied to different fetters or different locations, things, events. When it comes to the life essence that all these different spirits claim, the echoes are just ones that do this in loops, replaying parts of their life that they had in previous memories. From the outside, not attuned to the ghost field, it might be a piano playing itself again, footprints appearing on a local path that a guard used to walk. These spirits themselves don't have any free will or active drive to do something else other than this immediate repeat, almost a faint memory than an actual entity. It can still be pushed and kind of guided to do additional things or to emphasize one part of this memory. A whisper heading to a locked door to try and force an echo that would walk through it to unlock it. But outside of that general utility, or just some kind of creepy thing acting out, lights turning themselves on, brief bits of cold, creaking staircases as an echo walks up it. It isn't just those interactions that can be dangerous themselves, as if you interact with them physically, it'll still zap you. But when it becomes a bit dangerous is the particularly violent moments. Because while echoes can appear in almost anything to a point, they are highly emphasized and appear around violent moments in their past life. Where the immediate thought might come to death, as that is one of the things brought up in the book itself, it is not just death. Any particular violent moment from that past. The dangerous things is that these are spontaneous. So while one echo, like the piano situation or the creeping staircase, just might be a feature of the house, it just happens. Then you'll walk into the room and then all of a sudden it's an all-out brawl where multiple people were murdered. And touching any of them would kill you. Next up is Specters, the usual suspect. A bit of a will of its own, this kind of vengeance keeping it here, or attempting to keep it sane, and that life essence it needs, which it gains by possessing people. Not just by living things over like an echo again, and not just kind of living through near something, slowly killing someone off in the distance, or just, sapping energy from them by possessing people. That's how they do it. So it can still be the individual ghost coming after you and draining your life force from you, that bit of vengeance from the afterlife. Or it can be more like a revenant, someone possessing another body to come after you. The specters themselves are one of the real dangers of having individual spirits around. Echoes you can kind of avoid or work with or kind of just get used to. When it comes to a specter, that is an active threat. Because of that want for life essence, they'll just keep possessing and killing people. On top of their natural presence killing people around them. Not necessarily in any kind of immediate sense, but things don't grow, things are too cold, shadows kind of clutch to people. But it's also the vengeance, the list is never finished. The general natural state for different spirits would likely be echoes, which also still go mad after a time, especially if they're the violent ones. But by a specter's very nature, the thing keeping them here is revenge. vengeance. They will keep going, the list never ends. So that part about killing your rivals twice, that comes down to this. Because in a nice world, you might just have echoes occasionally, bits of worries here or there, people clinging to nice moments from their past lives, but you're in Duskvol. You're in the Shattered Isles. Most people are killed, or die of awful means. You might have echoes of people during a food riot, and different bits of gangs having killed each other, and specters coming for revenge, or peasants coming after the nobles. And in a weird, twisted way, if you wanted to guarantee your death meant something, or could result in something, getting in contact with someone who can protect your spirit from the Wardens just long enough for you to get that kill in, or a potential assassin, because whispers can also guide the spirit into what it's gonna be. They can manipulate echoes, they can manipulate different bits of specters, guiding their vengeance, and they can manipulate the spirit freshly coming from the corpse. The downside is that they are nearly always uncontrollable. It even mentions within the book itself any kind of attunement or magic. It is weird and dangerous. Something that everyone is barely in control of when they attempt to control it. And when it gets loose, or when it runs out of that life essence, or it goes finally mad, you're left with horrors. While specters and echoes kept some kind of semblance of the material world, these have gone long past that. Long since maddened, long since anguished, in consistent pain, torture, anger at the life they have lost, or madness. They are no longer human. This is close to demons. At least demons you can attempt to appease or kind of understand their methods or the one driving force behind them. These just wish for death. They are rare within the city itself and anywhere actually protected with some kind of deterrence, but outside in the Deathlands, they are the common thing. It's not specters, it's not echoes, these are the common thing out there. The other two still exist alongside potentially another, but these are the majority. Truly monstrous. But on the flip side of that lies the reconciled. Spirits who have come to some kind of balance, some kind of peace, not tied to vengeance any longer, not tied to seeking life essence even. They're not stuck to an echo or stealing from others that are alive. They are just beings. They are just spirits. Extremely rare to the point that most people within the city and the academia don't even believe they exist. But they do. They are a potential. They are an actual appeasement. They are a balance to a spirit. Being burned in the crematorium doesn't need to be the end, only adding to the horror of the Bellwether Crematorium. And lastly, within the haunted city are spirit wells, locations tied to supernatural beings, creatures, a breaking between the veil. An ancient myth tied to the birthplace of demons, supernatural beings congregate here, whether it becomes to undead spirits, demons, and other eldritch horrors. These are places of supernatural power within the ghost field and beyond, a breakdown between the veil. When it comes to another setting in comparison, Warhammer 40k and Fantasy, 40k you have the Eye of Terror, and in Fantasy you have the Chaos Gate or any of the Polar Gates. It's not just that these supernatural beings congregate there, reality itself is breaking down. The spirit well can be a number of things. It could have a ritual site built around it, it could just be a well that some horrific death or act happened, and a particularly powerful echo had split things. Or some ancient place tied long ago, now the foundations of some noble's keep. But in any of these cases, it's not just the spirits or creatures that this might draw in, it's the fact that it is a source of power. Whispers, other occultists can try and harness it, and back to that dangerous attunement, fail, and have things go horrifically wrong. But again, within the world after the Cataclysm, the Shattered Isles, this horror show that everyone is living in, it's a regular thing. You have the Spirit Wardens, you have different bits of Spirit Bane charms, different attempts of cults and religions trying to give different wardings to what's going on. Because within Duskvol, everyone has had at least one harrowing encounter within their lives. Everyone. While many people in the nobility and the institutions try to stray away from that or keep it within the eclectic sides of the academia and institutions, it is a thing that exists and is ever present. The Weird Sisters are a grand proof of this. As much as the institutions themselves try to keep away and have this kind of material superiority, this engineering holding back the horrible eldritch forces, the undead are here. The gates of death broke, the black mirror shattered, alongside the sun. This is the new way of things. Not just in the charms, items, spirit wardens, and institutions trying to examine it, but also you. Because within Blades in the Dark, there is a playable option for specters. And honestly, it just allows you to do all the ghostly stuff you think you would do. So, phasing through walls, appearing in different locations, being able to willingly accept or deny different compels. And when it comes to surviving and XP-wise, it is that draining of life essence and the vengeance. Actively turning away from either of those two things will see the death, or you're already dead, the horrifying results after if you do not follow into those things and fall into madness. But here we are at the end, the living, the dead, to the in-between, and the other. Welcome to the haunted city. You'll never leave. Ooh, thank you for watching the video! And hello from this haunted portrait, and definitely not because I forgot to record an outro, somehow. But yeah, lots of spooky things within the city. That's not even getting into the demons, holes, vampires, etc. The leviathans themselves out in the ocean. All of those are very particular single instances, or like one type of creature here and there. Ghosts have this whole range of horrors, specters, echoes, the spirit wells tying everything together. Another part I forgot to mention on top of the outro was mentioning a little more what whispers can do. Because within the game's mechanics itself, it is left very vague in the sense that the actual skills needed and the actual talents used are extremely open-ended. It's up to the creativity of the person using them. In short, a whisper's lengths go to how well can they manipulate what's going on in the ghost field and the spirits they're in. So maybe forcing possession is a theoretical thing you can do, drawing a specter towards its immediate destination. The whole thing of abusing memories of locations to get through places, like the ghost key mentioned in the magic video. Or trying to mimic previous spells with just the equivalent of like, hey, summoning a brief horror for half a second to act as a fireball, just getting everyone in an area. That might be pushing it, and especially very dangerous to the whisper trying to use it, but hey, you can just try and mimic base effects or other spell-like effects from other settings. But to the creativity using it, thank you for watching again, a thank you to my patrons, and have a nice day.